Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into my very first breakdown video for Captain Society Hero of the Ages, episode 1. This video is a detailed breakdown of the first Captain Society episode that I recently uploaded on my YouTube channel. For those who are new here, Captain Society is one of the most important superheroes in my fictional universe and plays a major role in the larger stories that I plan to tell in the future. With your support, I hope to continue this journey by creating a full series of episodes focused on a character, her allies, her enemies, and the events that shaped her into the hero she eventually becomes. Captain Society's story is based on a four-part digital book series that I am currently developing. The narrative follows our journey from the origins during the Georgian independence movement through the tragedies and conflict that shaped her life and ultimately into the modern world where she emerges as one of the most powerful and influential heroes in my universe. Throughout this breakdown, I'll be explaining the timeline, the historical inspirations behind certain scenes, hidden details, character motivations, and the deeper lore that may not be immediately obvious in the main video. So sit back and relax and let's begin the story of Captain Society, Hero of the Ages. So the story begins in the modern day. The opening scene presents Captain Society standing atop a towering skyscraper overlooking a breathtaking European city during sunrise. As the first rays of sunlight illuminate the skyline, she silently watches over the city below, preparing herself for the mission that lies ahead. At first glance, the scene appears calm and peaceful, but beneath the calm exterior stands a warrior shaped by decades of conflict, sacrifice, and history. If you look closely, Captain Society is wearing a tactical face gear and the iconic star emblem displayed prominently across her chest. The emblem represents the ideas she has sworn to protect, honor, sacrifice, unity, and freedom. It is more than a symbol, it is the reminder of the responsibility she carries. Her posture tells us a lot about her character. She stands poised, focused, and alert, carrying the shield of society across her back. Even in a moment of stillness, she appears ready for action. The detailed facial design, the body language, and emphasize her experience, discipline, and unwavering determination. One of the most important details in this scene is her armor. Captain Society is equipped with the ISAT MK4 combat suit, the most advanced combat platform ever designed by ISAT. The suit represents decades of technological advancement, battle research, and classified experimentation. For those unfamiliar with the lore, ISAT is one of the most influential organizations within my fictional universe. Operating from the shadows for decades, ISAT have played a crucial role in shaping the world events, monitoring global trends, and developing technologies far beyond conventional understanding. More importantly, ISAT's involvement is deeply connected to Captain Society's own origin story and eventual transformation. If you're interested, I can create a dedicated breakdown exploring the ideas of eyesight's history, its role in the past, and how it operates in the modern era. Another important detail is the shield of society itself. The version seen in this scene is the most advanced iteration ever created. Constructed using the nth metal alloy fused with the titanium and enhanced through eyesight's engineering, it has become one of the most formidable defensive weapons in existence. Inscribed upon the shield are the words honor, sacrifice, freedom, along with the title Captain Society. These words are not simply decorative, they represent the very foundations on Raghunath's journey. Because long before she became Captain Society, she was a young patriot caught in the turmoil of the Georgian independence struggle, the hardships she endured, the sacrifices she witnessed, and the political conflicts that shaped her homeland all contributed to the person she would eventually become. Every scar, every loss, and every victory helped forge the super soldier standing before us today. As the scene draws to a close, Captain Society turns towards the modern sunlight, and before a brief moment, she appears lost in thought, perhaps reflecting in the past, perhaps preparing for the future, or perhaps remembering the long road that transformed a young revolutionary into a living symbol she has become. And with that, the story begins. The video now transitions from the modern day into the past as the camera sweeps across the beautiful city of previously. The timeline shift to the year 1982. At this point in history, Georgia was not an independent nation. It existed as the Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic, one of the constituent republics of the Soviet Union during the height of the Cold War. On the surface, Tbilisi appears, peaceful. The streets are alive, the city is thriving, and the daily life continues as normal. But beneath the calm exterior, something far more significant is beginning to take shape. Across Georgia, quite movement is growing. Intellectuals, students, dissidents, and the patriots are slowly beginning to, challenge the Soviet control. The desire for a national identity and independence has not disappeared. It may merely be enforced underground. The period is crucial to understanding the Captain Society story because the foundations of her future are being laid here, long before she became a super soldier, long before she carried the shield of society, long before the world would have known her as the Captain Society. As the timeline progresses, the scene transitions to the Tbilisi Military Lyceum in 1982. We see young cadets moving through the academy grounds while military drills echo across the compound. The atmosphere feels disciplined and orderly, accompanied by the steady rhythm of marching soldiers. On the surface, it appears to be just another military institution operating under the Soviet system. But hidden within these walls is a moment that will eventually shape the future of Georgia itself. This is where the story introduces one of the most important figures, David Kevishvili. To understand Captain Society's origin, you first need to understand the man who discovered her. In 1982, David Kevishvili had become a respected strategist, nationalist thinker, and one of the key architects working behind the scenes of Georgia's growing independence movement. While many focused on the politics of the present, David was thinking years ahead, preparing for challenges that had not yet arrived. During this period, he began quietly observing the students of Tbilisi Military Lyceum. He wasn't looking for a perfect Soviet officer. He was searching for something far more valuable. Individuals with the courage, discipline, and conviction to help safeguard Georgia's future. It was here that he discovered 16-year-old Amira Kapinadze, and at the time she was simply a young cadet, unknown to the world, unknown even to herself. But David saw something extraordinary in her. He recognized a rare combination of intelligence, determination, and leadership that set her apart from everyone around her. Where others saw a student, David saw potential. Where others saw a recruit, he saw a future protector. This encounter would become one of the most important turning points in the entire Captain Society timeline because without David, there would be no Captain Society, and without Captain Society, the future of Georgia might have unfolded very differently. After that, we witnessed one of the most important moments in Captain Society's entire origin story. For the first time, young Amira Kapnadze come face to face with David Kavishli. As the camera focuses on the two, David delivers a message that will shape the rest of Amira's life. The future of Georgia is not a gift, Amira, it is a responsibility. This moment takes place during the recruitment process at the Tbilisi Military Lyceum. David isn't searching for ordinary soldiers, he's searching for individuals capable of carrying the future of an entire nation on their shoulders. Working alongside with him was Georgi Kostari, a respected political thinker, strategist, and one of the key figures of supporting Georgia's growing independence movement. While David focused on identifying the future leaders and protectors, Georgie helped shape the ideology, discipline, purpose behind the movement. All these characters, if you dive into the internet, you will get reference. Everything is taken according to the historical references. Together, David and Georgie carefully selected 10 exceptional candidates from the military lyceum. These recruits would eventually become known as the Young Patriots. Unlike a conventional military unit, the Young Patriots were created with a singular objective to prepare a new generation capable of defending Georgia during the uncertain years that lay ahead. As the scene progresses, we see David and Georgie briefing the recruits about their long-term mission. The goal is not simply military excellence, the goal is preservation, preserving identity, sovereignty, and the future of their homeland. What follows is a montage of intense training sequences. We see recruits pushed through rigorous physical conditions, endurance exercises, close quarters, combat drills, tactical maneuvering, survival training, and weapons handling and advanced marksmanship programs. Every lesson is designed to test not only their physical strength but also their discipline, loyalty, and mental resilience. But among all 10 recruits, one individual began to stand out, that is Amira Kapanadze. While the others are learning how to become soldiers, Amira is unknowingly taking the first steps towards becoming something much greater. With each training sequence, we move deeper into the Captain Society timeline and witness how she becomes increasingly involved in the growing revolutionary movement that is quite spreading across Georgia. The story now shifts to another extremely important character in Captain Society's timeline, Georgie Costari. For those unfamiliar with the historical inspirations from this universe, Georgie Costari is based on one of the most influential personalities of the Georgian independence movement. While certain names and details have been adapted for the fictional narrative, his role within the story remains just as significant. During a period when Georgia remained under Soviet control, Georgy Kostari emerged as one of the strongest voices advocating for national identity, cultural preservation, and eventual independence. Alongside David, he became a symbol of hope for countless Georgians who believed their nation deserved the right to determine its own future. Unlike military leaders who fought with weapons, Kostari's greatest weapon was his conviction through speeches, activism, and unwavering dedication to the cause. He inspired an entire generation of young patriots to believe that freedom was possible. As the scene progresses, the timeline moves to Boreti, a small township in western Georgia. What follows is one of the most tragic moments in the entire capital society chronology. We witness the aftermath of a devastating car accident. Emergency responders arrive at the scene, investigators begin their work. News of the incident spreads rapidly across the country, and soon the unthinkable becomes reality. Georgie Costari is dead. The official reports classify the event as a tragic accident, but for many within the independence movement, questions immediately begin to emerge. The timing, the circumstances, the individuals who may have benefited from his absence. For the supporters of the movement, Costari's death never felt like the end of a map. It felt like the beginning of a mystery. What follows is a period of nationwide mourning, unlike anything Georgia had experienced in years. Citizens gathered across towns, cities to pay tribute, candles were lit, flags were lowered, the nation lives together. But Georgi Costari was more than a political figure. He had become a symbol of resistance, a symbol of national identity, and a symbol of the belief that Georgia could one day stand independent and free. Ironically, the very event intended to silence that symbol achieved the opposite effect. His death transformed a public sentiment. What had once been a growing movement now became a national cause. The desire for independence grew stronger, the voices demanding freedom grew louder, and many who had remained silent now chose to stand beside the movement. In many ways, Georgie Costa's death awakened the entire nation. Of course, there is far more to this story than what is shown here. Questions surrounding the political conspiracies, hidden interests, Soviet influence, how alleged KGB involvement would continue to shadow this incident for years. However, those events are part of a much larger narrative, and that is a story we will explore in greater detail in the episode 2. The timeline now advances to the year 1989. The scene opens at Rustavi military base, one of the most strategically important military installations in Georgia during this period. Military trucks and armored vehicles roll through the entrance gates as soldiers move with urgency across the compound. The atmosphere immediately feels different from the earlier training sequences. This is no longer a preparation, this is deployment. As one of the military vehicles comes to a halt, we are introduced to a very different version of Amira Kapinadze. Now 23 years old, Amira has evolved from a promising cadet into a highly respected military officer. Holding the rank of a lieutenant, she serves as a platoon commander and leader of the Young Patriots. The transformation is impossible to miss. The young recruit we saw all those years earlier has been replaced by a battle-hardened leader. Her movements are confident, her decisions are deliberate, every action reflects years of discipline, sacrifice, and military experience. As she steps out of the vehicle in full combat gear, the camera captures the weight she carries now. Not only is she responsible for her own survival, but she is also responsible for the lives of every patriot under her command. The scene then moves into the military loadout bunker. Weapons are being distributed, ammunition is loaded, radios are tested, soldiers prepare for deployment. Amid the organized chaos, Amira remains calm and focused, personally overseeing the preparations of the young patriots. What stands out here is her leadership. She is no longer simply following orders, she is helping shape the mission itself. The scene transitions into the command center where Amira meets with David Kefishli. Together, they review the intelligence reports, operational objectives, and growing instability spreading across Georgia. The political climate is becoming increasingly volatile, and both understand that the events unfolding around them could change the nation's future forever. As plans are discussed, we see maps, tactical briefings, and mission routes spread across the command table. The young patriots are no longer a training program. They have become an operational unit, and their next assignment may be the most important yet. Shortly afterward, Amira and the young patriots board a military transport bus bound for the city. This is one of the most powerful moments in the sequence. As the vehicle moves through the Georgian countryside, the camera focuses on Amira sitting among her comrades. For a brief moment, there is no speeches, no orders, no combat, no only reflection. If you look closely, Amira appears different from the young woman we met in 1982. Years of training and field operations have left their mark. Her face carries subtle scars, her expression is more restrained, more composed. But beneath this discipline, there is something else concern, responsibility, perhaps even uncertainty. She understands that history is approaching a turning point. The independence movement is growing stronger, political tensions are escalating, and the decisions made in the coming days may determine the future of a nation. D- Despite her experience and training, she is still a human. She worries about her team, she worries about the mission, and deep down she senses that the events ahead will change all their lives forever. As the bus continues towards the city, Amira stares silently through the window. The soldier is ready, the leader is prepared. And neither she nor her young patriots yet understand the scale of the storm that is about to arrive. The story now arrives at one of the most significant moments in the entire timeline. The scene opens with a public gathering on Rustaveli Avenue in front of the House of Government in Center Tbilisi. Thousands of citizens have gathered peacefully carrying Georgian flags, singing patriotic songs, and standing together in support of a future they believe is worth fighting for. For those familiar with Georgian history, this scene draws inspiration from one of the most important turning points in the entire country's struggle for independence. Without revealing too much, this moment would go on to reshape the course of Georgia's future and became a defining event for many of the characters within this story. Leading the gathering were several prominent leader figures of the independence movement, including David himself and other key leaders who have dedicated their lives to the cause. One after the other, they address the crowd, delivering speeches that inspire hope, unity, and national pride. The atmosphere feels almost celebratory. Families have gathered together, students stand shoulder to shoulder with workers and veterans. For a brief moment, it feels as though an entire nation is speaking with a single voice. But amidst the optimism, the camera shifts its focus to Amira Katmanse. Unlike the crowd, she is not fully at ease. Years of training have sharpened her instincts, and something about the situation doesn't feel right. As a young patriot moves through the gathering, Amira quietly orders them to remain alert and maintain visual contact with one another. One detail worth noting is that neither Amira nor the young patriots are openly carrying weapons during this sequence. This is a peaceful public demonstration, not a military operation. As sidearms or tactical equipment remain concealed or secured in order to prevent unnecessary escalation and ensure the protest remains peaceful. At this stage, the young patriots are acting primarily as observers and protectors, keeping watch over the crowd rather than preparing for combat. What makes this scene particularly powerful is the contrast between what the audience sees and what is about to unfold. To the public, this is a peaceful demonstration. To Amira, it feels like the calm before a storm. The tension is subtle, but it is there. A glance, a feeling, an instinct that something is about to change. And as the sequence comes to an end, the camera pulls back to reveal the full scale of the gathering. Thousands of people filled Rustaveli Avenue. Georgian flags were proudly above the crowd. Voices echo across the city. Hopes fill the air. Yet beneath that hope lies the beginning of a chapter that will forever alter the lives of David Kefishli, the young patriot, and most importantly, Amira Kapnadze herself. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. The true significance of this event will be explored in my next episode, that is the episode 2. The timeline now shifts away from Georgia and moves towards Moscow in the year 1990. At this point in history, the Soviet Union stood on the edge of collapse. For nearly 7 decades, Moscow had ruled one of the largest empires in human history, stretching across multiple continents and governing millions of people. Yet beneath the appearance of strength, cracks had already begun to form. Across the Soviet republics, calls for independence were growing louder, old loyalties were fading, political unrest was spreading. For the first time in decades, the future of the Soviet state itself had become uncertain. As Moscow struggled to maintain control, events unfolding hundreds of miles away in Georgia were attracting increasing attention from both military and the intelligence circles. The scene transitions into a heavily guarded military briefing facility. Inside, senior military officials, intelligence officers, and KGB operatives are gathered across a strategic operations table. Reports, intelligence files, surveillance photos, and field assessments are spread across the room. The subject of discussion is becoming increasingly clear: the Georgian independence movement, its leaders, and its growing public support, and the potential threat it poses to Soviet authority. As the briefing intensifies, one of the officers quietly hands over a classified dossier. A room falls silent. The mission is deemed too sensitive for conventional forces, too important to leave to chance. The file is handed to us a single individual, a man dressed in a long dark coat. Before the details of the operation can be revealed, the scene abruptly cuts away. For the first time, we are introduced to one of the most important characters in the entire Capital Society saga, Ivan Drago. In 1990, Ivan was already a decorated Spetsnaz operative and one of the KGB's most trusted deep cover assets. Throughout his career, he had participated in numerous covert operations, deniable missions, and black operations across multiple regions of Soviet sphere of influence. Unlike traditional scholars, Ivan specialized in missions that officially never existed, no records, no witnesses. Within my fictional universe, Ivan Drago is one of my favorite characters and one of the most complex antagonists I have ever developed. His story stretches far beyond Captain Society's timeline and connects to several major events that shape the future of my universe. This scene serves only as his introduction. The deeper layers of this character, motivations, and history will be explored in future episodes. What immediately stand out about Ivan is his demeanor, his calm, he is focused, he is disciplined. Every moment appears calculated, every decision is deliberate. Carries himself with the confidence of a man who survived countless operations and knows exactly what he is capable of. The scene then transitions to a remote forest training ground. There we see Ivan fully equipped in tactical gear, moving through the terrain with the precision and purpose. In his hands is a Soviet-era Dragunov sniper rifle, one of the most recognizable weapons of the period, and a weapon perfectly suited to his role as a long-range specialist. Even during the training, Ivan displays an almost unnatural level of patience and control. Years later, after the declassified intelligence records within the Captain Society timeline, Ivan Drago would earn a name that would become feared across multiple intelligence agencies and military organizations, the Grey Ghost. A codename whispered among soldiers, operatives, and intelligence officers alike, but he wasn't born with that name, he earned it. And the event that would ultimately define both his legacy and Amira Katanaz's future had not yet happened. That moment remains one of the most important turning points in the entire Captain Society saga, one of that permanently altered the destinies of both Amira and Ivan. But that is a story for my episode 2. But for now, we only witness the beginning of a legend, the beginning of a man who would become Captain Society's most dangerous adversary. And with that, we come to the end of our breakdown for the episode 1. My goal with this breakdown was to take you through the story scene by scene and provide deeper insight into the characters, historical inspirations, hidden details, and the events that may not have been immediately obvious in the main video. But make no mistake, this is only the beginning. Many of the mysteries surrounding the characters are still waiting to be explored. The events we have seen so far are merely the foundation of a much larger story that will continue to unfold in the upcoming episodes. I'm currently working on the episode 2, which will dive deeper into the Georgian independence timeline, the rise of Ivan Drago, and several major events that will dramatically change the future of Amira and the people around her. So stay tuned until the story is getting started. I've also recently launched my Instagram and X pages where I'll be sharing character profiles, lore details, and many artworks and updates and additional information about the wider Myverse. Be sure to check them out if you'd like to learn more about the characters and story beyond the videos. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories, feedback, and what you'd like to see explored in the future episodes. Thank you all for watching and supporting. See you all in the next one.